I woke up from surgery to see my husband crying. He held my hand and whispered, "I'm so sorry." Confused, I looked down. My wedding ring was gone. "Where's my ring?" I asked. A nurse gasped, "You don't know?" My husband shook his head. "It's time to tell her the truth." I sat up, terrified. His next words changed everything. "I don't even know how to start this. Maybe by saying I've never been the type to write stuff online. I'm a quiet person. I keep things to myself. But after everything that happened, I feel like I need to get it out. Maybe someone out there has been through something like this. Maybe not. But I need to tell it. It started 3 months ago. I had a sudden, sharp pain in my head one night while I was making dinner. I remember grabbing the counter to keep from falling. Then I woke up in the hospital. Tubes in my arms. Beeping machines. A killer headache. And my husband sitting beside me, holding my hand and crying. At first, I was just confused. I didn't know how long I'd been out or what had happened. I could barely talk because of the breathing tube they'd just removed. Dean, my husband, kept whispering, "I'm so sorry," over and over. I didn't understand what he meant. Then I looked down at my hand. My wedding ring was gone. It was a simple gold band with a small diamond. Nothing too expensive, but it was ours. He gave it to me when we were both broke and young and in love. I hadn't taken it off in 10 years. I blinked, staring at my bare finger. "Where's my ring?" I croaked out. The nurse standing near the foot of my bed gasped. She looked at Dean. Her face went pale. "You didn't tell her?" she said, like she couldn't believe it. Dean's eyes filled up again. He looked at the nurse, then back at me. He let go of my hand and stood up slowly. "It's time to tell her the truth," he said. I felt a chill run down my spine. "Tell me what?" I said. Dean took a deep breath. "You had an aneurysm rupture. It happened fast. The doctors weren't sure you'd make it. They told me the chances were maybe 10%. Less, even." I didn't say anything, just stared at him. "You were in surgery for hours. They said you might not come out of it." I thought I lost you." I still didn't understand why my ring was gone. Dean sat back down and rubbed his hands together. "When they told me it was bad, I started calling family. Then I called a lawyer. I didn't think you'd wake up, so I started getting things in order." "What things?" I asked. "I sold the ring," he said. "We needed money. The bills were stacking up, the surgery, the hospital stay. I thought, if you didn't make it..." I stared at him, stunned. "I didn't think you'd wake up," he repeated, like it made everything okay. "You sold my wedding ring before I was even dead?" I asked. My voice shook. Dean looked down at his lap. "It wasn't just the ring. That's when I really started to feel sick." "What else?" I said. He didn't answer right away. The nurse quietly walked out of the room, leaving us alone. "I cleaned out the joint account," he said. "Moved the money to a different one. I canceled your gym membership. I gave away your clothes." I thought, his voice cracked, I thought it would help me move on faster. I felt like I'd been punched. "You gave away my clothes?" I told myself it was to help me grieve. I just stared at him. My chest felt tight. Like something was pressing down on it. Like I couldn't breathe. Then he said something that made everything 10 times worse. "There's something else you need to know," he said, his eyes glassy. "While you were in surgery, I called someone I hadn't talked to in a while. I didn't want to hear it. I already knew. Her name's Tara," he said. "We dated in college. We stayed in touch. When I thought I lost you, I reached out. She came to see me." I turned my head and stared at the wall. I didn't want to see his face anymore. I was weak. I didn't mean for anything to happen. I was just lost, and she was there. "You slept with her while I was in surgery," I said, my voice hollow. He didn't say anything. That was enough. I didn't say anything for a long time. I just stared at the wall, trying to process it all. My head was still pounding from the surgery, but now it was worse. Now it wasn't just pain, it was something else. Numbness. Disbelief. Rage trying to claw its way up my throat, but too weak to come out. Dean didn't leave. He just sat there like a damn statue. Like he expected me to forgive him because he cried and said he was sorry. I didn't cry. I waited until he went to the cafeteria to get coffee, and I buzzed the nurse. "I want my phone," I said. "Now." She hesitated. "Are you sure you're up for that?" "I want my phone." She brought it in. It had been in a bag with my things. Dead battery. She plugged it in for me. I waited for it to turn on. I didn't even know how long I'd been out, 2 days, maybe 3. But once I had access, I opened our shared bank app first. 0. Nothing in the checking. Nothing in savings. He wasn't lying about that. Then I checked my emails. Thousands of unread ones. I scrolled through, heart pounding, until I saw something from a real estate agency. A forwarded message from Dean's email. Moving forward after loss. Property listings. He was house hunting. He'd already started shopping for a smaller place. Alone. The real punch to the gut came when I opened the texts. He hadn't deleted them. Either he was dumb or thought I'd never check. He and Tara had been messaging. Not just since the surgery. Not just after the aneurysm. Months. Months. Flirty. Private messages. Inside jokes. Photos. Plans. Can't wait till it's just us. I miss you when I'm with her. She doesn't suspect a thing. That was dated 2 weeks before my aneurysm. That bastard didn't just cheat while I was on the table. He'd been doing it behind my back long before my brain decided to explode. When Dean came back in with that stupid coffee, I was calm. Too calm. "How long?" I asked, not looking at him. He paused. "What? How long have you been seeing her?" He looked down. It wasn't serious. "That's not what I asked." He sighed. "We reconnected last fall. It wasn't like that at first. I swear. Last fall." It had been nearly a year. He tried to defend himself, mumbling about how our marriage had gotten distant and how I was always working late and you just didn't seem interested in me anymore. I said nothing, just stared at him while he scrambled to justify stabbing me in the back. He finally said the words I'd been waiting for. "I made a mistake." And that's when it clicked. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a man who thought he'd gotten away with it. Who planned a new life while I was still fighting for mine. I made a decision right then. If he thought he was free of me, if he thought I'd roll over and cry and move out of the way, he was wrong. This wasn't over. He didn't know it yet, but he'd just made the worst mistake of his life. I didn't react right away. That's what threw him off. I think he expected yelling. Maybe tears. But I gave him silence. The kind that makes your skin crawl. That night, while he was asleep on the tiny pull-out chair in the hospital room, I stared at the ceiling and started planning. I wasn't ready to tell him I knew everything. Not yet. I needed time. Strength. Information. A few days later, they discharged me. I was still weak, but they said I was lucky to be alive. I nodded and smiled. Nobody knew that the woman getting in that wheelchair to go home wasn't the same one who came in. The new me had one goal, ruin Dean without ever raising her voice. The first thing I did when I got home was pretend. Pretend I believed his story. Pretend I forgave him. Pretend I still loved him. I even wore his damn hoodie around the house. It worked. He relaxed. Stopped sleeping on the couch. Even kissed me on the forehead like we were some sweet old couple. Meanwhile, every night, when he passed out drunk on the couch, I was going through his files, his emails, every drawer in the house. That's how I found the second twist. A life insurance policy. Taken out 6 months before my aneurysm. The beneficiary? Tara. Not me. Not even a shared account. Her. I stared at the papers, my hands shaking. The policy was hidden in a folder labeled tax stuff at the bottom of a locked filing cabinet in the garage. He had planned for me to die. He didn't just prepare himself emotionally. He didn't just start a relationship. He made financial arrangements in her favor. And that wasn't even the worst part. The aneurysm wasn't just some freak thing. A few nights later, while pretending to sleep, I heard him on the phone with Tara. She'll be gone soon. I swear. The doctor said another clot could happen at any time. He was waiting for me to die. Just waiting, not rushing it, not making it happen, but praying for it. That was when I decided I wouldn't just leave him. I'd destroy him first. I didn't sleep for days after hearing that call. My body was still healing, but my mind was working faster than it ever had. If Dean was just waiting for me to drop dead, I had to act fast. Quiet. Smart. I started collecting everything, printed every email, saved every text, took photos of the life insurance papers, the bank statements, and even the house listings with Tara's name on them. I backed it all up, cloud, flash drive, burner phone. And then I made the first call to a lawyer. Not one of those expensive ones on billboards. A quiet guy. Old, sharp-eyed, friend of a friend. I gave him everything. Told him I didn't want a divorce. Not yet. I wanted leverage. Power. Protection. He gave me the idea that changed everything. Stay quiet, he said. Act like nothing's wrong. Then hit him where it hurts. So I did. I stayed home for the next few weeks, pretending to be weak, clinging to Dean like he was my savior. Meanwhile, I was working with the lawyer to build a case. Financial fraud, emotional abuse, attempted beneficiary fraud. He told me it wasn't illegal to hope your spouse dies, but it sure looked bad in court when you put it all together. The day I finally made my move, I invited Dean's family over. Said I wanted to have a little thank you dinner for their support. He was all smiles. See? We're healing, he said, kissing my forehead. He had no idea. I stood up after dessert and handed out little folders to everyone, his parents, his sister, even his cousin Dave, who always hated me. Inside? Copies of everything. Every text. Every dollar. A short, clear summary of what Dean had been up to. His mother opened it first. Then came the yelling. His sister threw her drink at him. His father walked out. Dave just muttered, Jesus, and stared at Dean like he was roadkill. Dean tried to talk his way out of it, but I wasn't done. I turned to him, calm as ever. I filed charges, I said. Fraud, harassment, misuse of marital assets. You might beat it or you might not. That's up to the DA. His face went pale. And I filed a civil suit against you and Tara, I added. Everything in your name is frozen. The lawyer made sure of that. Including that account you moved the money to. He tried to step toward me. You don't want to do this. I already did. Then I handed him the flash drive. This has everything. Give it to Tara. Or don't. But tell her I know she was in it for the money. That life insurance policy's gone now. Cancelled it last week. His face broke right there. Mouth open. Eyes red. Hands shaking. And just when he thought it couldn't get worse, I hit him with the final blow. Oh, and one more thing, I said. You know that thing the doctor said? About another clot? That wasn't true. I had them run every test. I'm fine. Healthier than ever. He looked like someone ripped the floor out from under him. Which means, I said, stepping close so only he could hear, you're going to have to live with this. Every day. I survived. You didn't. He was evicted 2 weeks later. Moved in with Tara. She left him a month after that when the money stopped. I kept the house. I kept my name. And I kept living. Maybe I made a mistake marrying him. Maybe I should have seen the signs. But I learned something important. When someone shows you what you're worth to them, believe them. Then make sure they regret it. Forever.